Welcome to the new episode of Dakota Boys Talk Movies. We are going to be looking at a movie today, Dakota.
Well, I sure hope so.
And you'll never guess what the movie is. I'm trying to make it like a mystery, because that's the movie we're talking about, a mystery movie, Dakota. See How They Run.
Yes, did this movie even make it to theaters?
I was trying to figure that out, and it looked like it did make some money at the box office, so it must have been a real limited release before they put it on streaming.
Okay. Because one night I was just bored, and I was going through HBO Max, and it was on there. And I was like, all right, I'll give this a shot. Just see what it's about. And man, was I surprised with, one, the wit of this movie was just right on point. I found some scenes probably more hilarious than I should have. Some of the jokes from earlier kind of come back later in the film. Oh, I always have trouble remembering what's the actor that plays the director at the beginning of this film. He's doing the narration.
Oh god. Adrian Brody.
Yeah. He references the fact that he had fought in World War II and he was stationed in Britain. The film takes place in London.
Yes.
Probably give you a little bit of backstory. So there is a play that is based on a book that was written by Agatha Christie. They're celebrating their 100th performance.
Yeah, it's a party for the 100th performance.
And Adrian Brody's character he's going to be working on the film adaptation. And
yeah, so it's 1952 London is where it's at. So this is new. This is kind of new on the London West End, which in fact it's still playing on the West End in London. This play has been playing in London since 1952, and I think they had to take a break because of COVID, but started up again.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, but Adrian Brody's character is a director who apparently got blacklisted by the whole McCarthy.
I think you're supposed to assume like he's a Red Scare victim, but he's like he's like every girl that walks by, he's looking at. I mean, he's just every girl's just a piece of meat. He's just looking at their butts, and he's just like everything about him is just like he's a jerk. You can tell like you never see him on the set of a movie, but you just know what he would be like on the set of a movie, just a jerk, you know. It's just kind of one of those situations. And he even says something like, it's always the guy who's set up to be the jerk that gets murdered or whatever. And so it's basically him saying like, yeah, I'm going to be the one that gets killed because I'm the jerk.
And this really isn't a spoiler because he dies in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler. He's the death.
Yeah.
He's the death. So what this movie is it's like within this movie is these people doing Agatha Christie's play, and they even have people some of these people are real people in real life, and there's actors playing them. Like Richard Attenborough was in this play, and so they have an actor being Richard Attenborough and his wife,
who's the actor that's playing Richard Attenborough is like a foot taller than.
Yeah, he's like the tallest guy in the room. And if any of you know Richard Attenborough, he's Mr. Hammond in Jurassic Park, the old guy in Jurassic Park, and he's Santa Claus in the new Miracle on 34th Street done in the early 90s. So it's like he's like a small man.
Yes.
But yeah, and so there's kind of this blending of certain things that are reality, but what this movie ends up being is really an homage to Agatha Christie while being a movie that involves Agatha Christie stuff. And so that's kind of the hook of it. And so it's kind of your classic whodunit, but it's like meta. It's like a meta whodunit.
Yes. Like I was trying to say earlier, so many things that get brought up are kind of referenced later.
Yeah.
One of them being Adrian Brody's character says to just another random character, like, "Oh, I was stationed here during the war. Trust me, pal. All it takes to get one of these women is a pair of stockings."
Oh yeah.
And then there's Saoirse Ronan's character when she's investigating his hotel room, finds a pair of women's stockings, and she's just kind of like amazed, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's kind of the thing is like this murder happens the night of this party, and Saoirse Ronan plays this she's a constable who's kind of on the scene, and she wants to be a detective. She's planning to take her sergeant exam. And then the inspector that comes,
yeah, he's from Scotland Yard, so he's
Yeah.
an actual detective.
Is played by Sam Rockwell, doing a kind of British accent, like a really subtle.
Yeah, it's so subdued. I don't think it really took me out of the movie, though.
Yeah. He doesn't like over Cockney it or anything like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins or anything. But it's also not as like hammy as Jack Sparrow. He just kind of plays it really it's like underplayed, where it isn't distracting, and you're like, yeah, okay, I buy it.
Yeah, this isn't Keanu Reeves from the Dracula movie. It's,
Yeah, for that accent. Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, I think the narration, and I'm not really a fan of narration at the beginning of movie. I feel like it's kind of, it becomes redundant by the end. Like, we didn't really need that. But
My favorite thing is when there's movies that have no narration the entire movie, and then all of a sudden at the end, there's like voiceover, and you're like, what's going on? Why is there all of a sudden voiceover?
But yeah, the narration kind of from the beginning of this is, I thought, perfect. Because he basically, once again, Adrian Brody's character is like, oh, you've seen one of these mysteries, you've seen them all. And this kind of is like that, but in the end, not really.
Yeah, I feel like the very thing this movie was hinging on was also the thing that just barely worked. Was that it was trying to maybe poke at the thing it was being, like a whodunit or whatever. And I don't know, it's like so it made it different than like Knives Out, I guess, because Knives Out was like Knives Out wasn't like really trying to be a self-aware whodunit. It was just trying to like subvert a whodunit a little bit, whereas this one was kind of being a whodunit, but in the midst of that being like, I don't know, trying to have just like, as they poke at it, I don't know how to explain what this one exactly is. For the most part, I think it worked. I don't know. Like, I thought this movie was fine. I think there were a lot of points where this movie thought it was more clever than it was. Just in like how they did things, and maybe how they used the narration, or I guess the big thing with a whodunit is, even though you're trying to guess along the way who did it, you're never quite sure. And I feel like with this one, I kind of knew where they kind of I think they played their cards too early, and I kind of knew where this was going. I don't know. Did you feel that way? I kind of was like, yeah, I think I know where this is going. I get it. I don't know.
No, I didn't really feel that with this. I also wasn't trying to guess who it was gonna be. Like, oh, who was the killer? Because I kind of suspected it was gonna be somebody that we weren't suspecting. Like there comes a point when Sam Rockwell's character gets accused of being the murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And the scene where that kind of plays out, I thought was funny. But yeah, I just like those Agatha Christie novels. There was going to be the kind of like the fake out where like, oh, we know who it is, but it's like, okay, we still have like a whole movie to go though.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was funny too. Saoirse Ronan, by the way, is great in this movie. I thought she was probably about the biggest strength in this movie, just the way she played it. But she's constantly just ready to accuse like in the moment, like they get just the slightest new information, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's definitely that person. Let's go get him," or whatever. She's just always ready to jump to the next suspect and be ready to just throw the book at him, which I thought that was pretty good. But I thought the way she played it was good, where it's like she was believable, but just had like this slight little quirk to her still. And she has an Irish accent, which I'm guessing her real Irish accent, so it didn't feel weird either.
Yeah.
So,
I thought Sam Rockwell did a pretty good job in this. You do kind of feel sorry for him, because right away you get the feeling he's kind of an alcoholic.
Yeah, he's kind of just a schmuck too.
Yeah.
Where it's this like, even his boss, his higher up, is just like, maybe you two can rub off on each other. She can learn what it's like to be a detective, and you can learn how to be a good cop or whatever. It was like, because the idea with her is that she has a drive and a want to do her job well or whatever. And even though he's a detective, he's like, again, they're kind of playing off of what you see in other movies where it's like, I've seen it all or whatever. The weird thing about this movie that I noticed, that this is going to be a weird thing to be bothered by, but do you remember anyone smoking in this movie?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, this movie should have been a cloud. It was 1952 London. There should have been a cloud of tobacco, unfiltered cigarettes galore.
Yeah, but then I don't know. I've heard this kind of from a few different sources. Like, if you have smoking in your movie, it might get like an R rating now.
Well, this movie was already PG-13 because of, and honestly, this movie doesn't really have much language. I've heard maybe hardly none. There's alluding to womanizing. And really, the main thing it's PG-13, I think, for is just like, some of the violence, because there are a few you see like after effects of a murder moments. But yeah, it is funny how when you'll watch shows or whatever, and it'll be like, TV PG smoking. It's like, is that the main reason it's a PG? I guess you can't. I'm just thinking like when we were kids, Dakota, and there'd be like G-rated things with like cartoon characters with giant cigars in their mouths, just puffing away the whole time. And now it's like, ooh, parental guidance, smoking.
Well, if you watch some movies from the 70s, like Omega Man, I think is PG, and it has some nudity, and there's like a ton of violence.
Well, I mean, I do understand the rating system is broken, but I do think it's just hilarious that there's certain things that I feel like we kind of get by, because you joke about nudity in PG, whereas now there's nudity in PG-13, whereas when we were younger they didn't used to do that, and they never used to rate smoking, which now they do.
Yeah, but you could still have people drinking and driving.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre. The rating system is so bizarre. I'll never understand it, and it just feels like it's wackier.
Yeah, this is completely going off on the subject matter, but I had heard that you can't even like the teen comedies from when we were young.
Okay,
you can't do those anymore because you can't have like teens drinking. You can't have
most of those were crap anyway. So
like you can't have them like smoking. Either
they can smoke weed,
tobacco,
but not tobacco.
Yeah,
tobacco's too much.
But yeah, you can't have them like even alluding to them like having sex. But
sure,
it's so weird though, because like you could do all these other things, like you have like a teenage serial killer.
Yeah,
but you can't.
Well, and it's like, I mean, you have a fart in your movie, and it's a PG. It's a PG. You could have a G-rated movie, and you have a fart or a fart joke in it, that's going to bump you to a PG for rude humor.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of crazy. But anyway, back to this movie. Yeah, it was just weird to me how there was no smoking when it was 1952 London. I mean, everybody was hooked on smoking at this point. Yeah. It was like World War II was just getting over. You were smoking from the stress, now you're smoking because of the victory, the rebuilding of your city. But yeah, and so so this kind, I guess the best way to say it is this movie just kind of it follows the beats of. If you're someone who knows any sort of whodunit, has ever watched any whodunit, it follows those beats, but it just kind of has it keeps having a self-awareness along the way with it, and then it just kind of has certain quirkinesses that it throws in along the way too. And so, I mean, that being said, I thought it made it at least a fun movie to watch.
Yeah. Personally, what I really liked about it, it was very kind of lighthearted. And like I said, this isn't like a bust your gut kind of laugh out loud movie, but I really, really appreciated the humor of this.
Well, and it felt like everybody in it, like, wanted to be there, like, enjoyed making this movie. You know, like, we're they weren't just phoning it in. They weren't just kind of showing up. So, because you never know. Like, you know, this was a movie where it was kind of a little more lower budget made, limited release, thrown on a streamer. You know, sometimes those are a little more like, we got to get some content out there, you know. But it feels like they were trying to put a little bit behind this, you know.
Yeah. And something I kind of appreciated, they injected a little bit of the kind of real world into this, because apparently Richard Attenborough had like this little tick where if he didn't remember your name, he just called you darling.
Yeah, that was, well, and that was also, he just said that a lot, I guess. Spielberg would talk about that, working on, because when they were filming Jurassic Park, there was a hurricane that while they had to put off filming for a while because of the hurricane, and they were stuck in the hotel. It was just terrible. Or whatever, and they were all like, sirens were going off, and part of the hotel was getting, like damaged or whatever, and they're all like down in the main area, like hiding or whatever. And the next morning, Richard Attenborough just comes down from his room and had just slept through it. And Spielberg goes, I just went to him and I said, Dickie, that's what people know him call him, I guess. He's like, how could you sleep through that? And he's like, I lived through the Blitz, darling. Like, he's like, I can sleep through anything. I sleep through the German bombs. Oh, God.
But not just that, but Agatha Christie. Well, not the real Agatha Christie, but...
the Agatha Christie of this movie.
Yeah, apparently she...
Yes, she shows up.
She was a nurse during World War I, and she kind of learned about poisons, and that comes into play towards the end of this.
Yeah, like... supposedly, like, some of her understanding of just what she would put into her stories came from, like, doing triage stuff or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was also jarring because I'm like, why do I know this Agatha Christie actress? It's Moni Myrtle from the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, I was wondering why her voice, her face kind of looked familiar.
I was like, man, she looks so familiar. And then I'm like, it's Moni Myrtle. The weirdly too old for the role of Moni Myrtle. Because, I mean, Moni Myrtle's supposed to be like, what, a dead 13-year-old girl, and it was played by like a 40-year-old actress.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, so it was just kind of, there were fun elements to how they played with this world. Obviously the events of this movie, even though Richard Attenborough and his wife and Agatha Christie are all in this, like, this is all fiction, of course. They were just kind of playing with this world and doing this kind of Agatha Christie homage within Agatha Christie's world. And so, yeah, I don't know. There's not too much more I really want to say too much about the movie in case people do want to watch it. But I would say that if you like whodunits, you're probably going to get a tickle from this one for sure. I guess it just wasn't probably one of my, I mean, I guess I just go back to, it was fine. For me, it was fine. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I did think that the people in it were a lot. The strength of this movie was the people in it, for the most part. I think they did a really good job in it. So yeah, I don't know. Dakota, got anything more on this? See how they run.
I think I've said basically everything there is to say, but I would give this a recommend.
Sure.
Just because I don't know.
So on a scale of 1 to 5 bottles of arsenic, to bring up a classic whodunit murder weapon, arsenic poison. How many bottles of arsenic would you give it?
I would probably give it 3.
3? Yeah, I mean 3 feels about right. Because again, I feel like the way this movie looked was good. I feel like everyone in it was good. I just it wasn't. It was definitely, it was a solid 3. I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't know, because I can't really think of anything about it that I really didn't, that I hated or anything. You know, there wasn't anything like that. So Sam Rockwell's always fun to see. I think he doesn't get a leading role a lot, or that often. It doesn't feel like, anyway.
I think he's just really picky about the roles he does take.
And maybe that is some of it. It could be that his own pickiness could be. But yeah, I thought this is another good Saoirse Ronan role. I mean, she's not even 30 yet, and I think she's already established herself as a pretty accomplished actress, you know. And so yeah, I'm sure she'll just keep on trucking too. I don't know. Sam Rockwell, I don't know how old he is. He's probably getting to be around 50, huh?
Oh, he's got to be in his 50s, because I think he was in his 30s during. I'm trying to remember that movie he made with George Clooney where.
Oh god. Oh yeah,
the host of the Gong Show.
Where he was the Gong Show guy who may or may not have worked for the CIA.
You know, I think that whole story got debunked.
Did it?
Yeah. I think that's,
man, he had everybody pretty convinced too.
That's the new thing, debunking these guys that because the Catch Me If You Can guy, apparently his whole story got debunked recently, like last year.
Really?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Yeah, wow. There was. I think it was him, but there was a journalist who was like trying to check out his story. And
so you mean like aspects of his story were?
Yeah, like in the book, there's like a kind of like a, I don't know if you want to call it a chapter, but there's a part in his book where he like got sent to a prison, and then he pretended that he was from like the Bureau of Prisons, and he basically fooled the people that at this prison, like the guards and the warden, into letting him out.
Oh, okay.
But
so he still did a lot of that crap that he did. It's just like some of that stuff was a little.
Yeah, I think it was a little exaggerated. He might have just been like a check forger or something.
He definitely was that.
Yeah.
I mean that we don't have to worry about trying to debunk, but that's interesting. But yeah, so see how they run. It's available on HBO Max and probably to rent. I think I saw it was available to rent at a few places too.
I think it might be on Hulu, maybe.
And it could be on Hulu, because we were talking about how this is a Fox movie, and a lot of those are on Hulu too, like Prey and what are some of those other ones that have been released on streaming?
Nightmare Alley, I know, is on Hulu.
Yeah, Nightmare Alley and some of those. So yeah, so it's for sure on HBO Max, could be on Hulu, but yeah, we both give it a solid recommend, especially if you're into that whodunit world. And so yeah, see how they run. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and make sure that you follow us and like us in all those places, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can always review us on those places. That's always cool too, if you do that. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think of See How They Run? Did you watch it? Do you want to watch it? You can let us know in those places. And so we hope to catch you next time. And thanks for listening today. This is Steven.
This is Dakota.
See you later.